Today, we are diving into a really critical playbook. It's all about shifting IT pros from being, reactive firefighters, constantly battling the next blaze, to becoming proactive guardians of the enterprise. And this isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about fundamentally understanding and protecting business value before it's even threatened. So, let's kick things off with a scene that probably feels a little too real for some of you. I call it the quiet failure. It's that crazy situation where all your monitoring dashboards are a beautiful sea of green. You've got 99.9% uptime, server loads look great, but your users are frustrated, productivity is hitting a wall, and your IT team is just completely burning out. That's the disconnect, right? It happens when we mistake technical stability for actual operational success. Today, we're going to close that gap. So here's our game plan. First, we'll unpack that quiet failure and look at the huge paradigm shift from ITIL v3 to ITIL 4. From there, we'll get really good at separating the critical signals from all the noise. Then, and this is a big one, we'll spend a good amount of time on a core rule. In a crisis, logic has to override hierarchy. After that, we'll get a handle on accountability, and finally, we'll put it all together to see how we can defend against modern digital threats. Okay, Section 1, the quiet failure of IT. The root of this problem is this really outdated way of thinking where IT operations is treated kind of like a cleanup crew at the end of a long assembly line. But the modern framework, ITIL 4, doesn't just tweak this view, it completely shatters it. It puts operations right at the strategic heart of the business.
Now, what's so fascinating here is the massive shift in perspective. Under the old model, ITIL v3, a project got designed, then built, and then just sort of chucked over the wall to operations to maintain. It was a total silo. But ITIL 4, it sees things completely differently. Operations is now this central hub in what's called the service value chain. And here's the key takeaway. Value isn't something IT delivers to the business anymore. Value is co-created with the user right at the moment they use the service. So if the platform is unstable, that value is destroyed. It doesn't matter how brilliant the strategy was.
All right, so with that new mindset locked in, let's move to Section 2. This is where we develop a really crucial skill, telling the difference between real signals and just distracting noise. This is the absolute key to preventing team burnout and making sure your best people aren't wasting their time on low-value stuff. And to do this, we need to master what I call the Operational Trinity. This table lays it out perfectly. These are the core definitions you've got to burn into your brain. An event is just a change of state, right? Like a user logging in or a backup finishing. It's just a piece of info. An incident, though, that's an unplanned interruption. Something is broken and users are feeling it. The goal? Get service back up fast. But a problem is the hidden, sneaky root cause of one or maybe even many incidents. And here, the goal isn't speed, it's making sure it never, ever happens again.
To make this even clearer, let's use a really powerful analogy. Picture a hospital. An event is just a nurse writing down a patient's heart rate. It's just data. An incident? That's the patient going into cardiac arrest. It's a full-blown emergency that needs immediate resuscitation. And the problem? Well, that's the underlying chronic heart disease that caused the arrest in the first place. See, you can resuscitate that patient all day long, but unless you treat the disease, another heart attack is coming. It's inevitable.
And this is why getting this right matters so much. When you treat every single cardiac arrest as a separate, one-off thing without ever looking for the underlying heart disease, you trap your team in a constant, soul-crushing fighting fire loop. You're just resuscitating incidents. You're never actually solving problems. And that leads directly to technical debt, to burnout, and to that quiet failure we talked about at the start. This brings us to probably one of the most powerful, and let's be honest, often the most difficult ideas in this whole playbook. Section 3, logic overrides hierarchy. In a real crisis, a high-performing organization doesn't just work on what came in first, and it definitely doesn't react to whoever shouts the loudest or has the fanciest job title. It operates on one thing and one thing only: cold, hard operational logic. And this is the tool we use to apply that logic. It's the strategic priority matrix. It's really simple, just two axes. The vertical axis is impact. How badly is this affecting business processes? How many people can't do their jobs? How severe is this? The horizontal axis is urgency. Basically, how fast does the business need a fix? Is there a deadline breathing down our necks? This matrix is our North Star for using our resources wisely.
Okay, now for our key scenario. Let's really walk through this, slowly, step by step. An urgent ticket hits the queue. The CEO's laptop can't get on the Wi-Fi. Now, in a lot of places, this would set off the panic alarms, right? Everyone drops everything because, well, it's the CEO. But a guardian of the enterprise, they don't panic. They use the matrix.
So, let's analyze this with pure logic. First up, urgency. Is it urgent? Absolutely. It's high. The CEO needs to work. They need it fixed now. No one's debating that. But, and this is the million-dollar question, what is the impact? The impact on the business as a whole is low. Only one single user is affected. The company can still take orders, the website is still up, and everyone else can still do their jobs.
So, if we go back to our matrix, what do we get? High urgency combined with low impact. That puts this ticket squarely in the priority 3 box. It's important, yes, and it needs to be fixed pretty quickly, but it is not a drop everything you're doing right now priority 1 emergency. This, right here, is the absolute essence of logic overriding hierarchy.
Now, let's contrast that with a true, no doubt about it, priority 1 incident. The payroll system goes down 2 days before payday. So what's the impact? It's high. The entire company is affected. What's the urgency? Also high. There's a critical, can't-miss deadline. High impact and high urgency. That's a P1. See the difference? One is a personal inconvenience for a very important person. The other is a systemic threat to the entire business. A guardian knows the difference.
Okay, so once a major incident does happen, how do we manage the absolute chaos? Section 4 is all about accountability and recovery. We're going to introduce 3 frameworks, RASCI, RPO, and RTO, that bring structure and clarity right when you need it the most.
Okay, let's really slow down and spend some time on this slide because these concepts are so fundamental, but they get misunderstood all the time. This is your recovery timeline. Way over on the left, you have your last good backup. Then, boom, disaster strikes. The incident happens. That gap in time between your last good backup and the incident, that is your recovery point objective, or RPO. Now listen very closely because this is the critical part. RPO is not a technical backup schedule. It is a business decision. It answers the question, what is the absolute maximum amount of data we are willing to lose forever? Then the clock starts ticking. The time from the incident until the service is back up for users, that is your recovery time objective, or RTO. And again, this is a business decision. It answers what's the maximum amount of downtime we can tolerate for this service. One is about data loss, the other is about service downtime. You have to master this distinction.
So during that downtime, who does what? The single biggest thing that fuels mismanagement during an incident is ambiguity. The RASCI model is built to destroy it. R is for responsible. These are the people with their hands on the keyboard actually doing the work. A is for accountable. And this is so important. It has to be only one person. This is the owner, the one whose neck is on the line for the outcome. S is for supported, the folks providing resources. C is for consulted, the experts you're talking with. And I is for informed, the people who just need status updates, one way.
Let's see this in action with a real high-stakes scenario, a data breach. Look at how the roles shift depending on the specific task. For the initial detection, the support desk might be responsible for logging the ticket, but the security lead is accountable for making sure it's real. When it's time for containment, now the security lead is the one doing the work, responsible, with support from the desk, while the CIO is ultimately accountable. And for public messaging, the legal department becomes responsible for drafting it, but the CIO is still accountable for its approval and release. This clarity, this is what prevents total chaos.
All right, let's put everything we've just learned to the ultimate test. In our final section, we'll apply all these concepts to guarding the enterprise against 2 of the most common and most dangerous cyber attacks out there, DDoS and ransomware.
And this just brilliantly shows how different threats need totally different playbooks. A DDoS attack, it's an availability breach. The goal of the incident response is to get the service back up by redirecting all that bad traffic and scaling up your infrastructure. But ransomware, oh, that is a completely different animal. This is a breach of both availability and, crucially, data integrity. Your data isn't just offline, it's being held hostage and it might be corrupted. The response here is totally different. You have to shut down operations to stop the spread and then restore your systems from the last known good backup, your last valid RPO. It connects everything right back to that recovery timeline we just mastered.
And that brings our whole journey full circle. Mastering these ideas, telling signals from noise, using logic over hierarchy, and demanding clear accountability. This is what completes the transformation. You stop being just a technician who fixes tickets, and you become a guardian of the enterprise. You become a strategic partner who actively protects the value your organization creates every single day.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought to take back to your own teams.
I want you to look at your daily work, your ticket queue, your postmortems, and ask yourselves this one critical question. Are you truly solving problems? Or are you just getting really good at resuscitating the same incidents over and over again, just waiting for the next cardiac arrest? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.